Indiana absolutely collapses on the road at Kentucky and loses a game that they should have won.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. And this is a live edition of Locked On Hoosiers as we unfortunately have to discuss the Indiana loss to Kentucky 72-60 inside of Rupp Arena. We'll talk about the good. There was not much of it, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk all about the bad. We'll talk about the collapse. We'll do the usual likes and dislikes as well, as Indiana, again, goes on the road and loses to Kentucky in the revival of the rivalry 72-60. And, man, I mean, this game was disgusting. I mean, it was not enjoyable to watch for any of the 40 minutes that it was on the air, right? The first half was bad. Neither team could figure out a way to score, defend, get a rebound, get a loose ball. I mean, looked like both teams were playing their season opener in the first half. Indiana's up by 7, hit a couple of shots. You're like, all right, well, we haven't really hit any threes, and we're up by 7 on the road. That Kentucky team looks horrible. We have a good shot to win this thing. And then Lamar Wilkerson picks up his 4th foul early in the second half, and Indiana completely collapses. I have never seen a team in a game look so different from one half to the next half. Either way, being good in the first half, bad in the second half, or bad in the first half and good in the second. I've never seen a team totally flip it off and flip gears from one half to the other, going from good to bad. And Indiana wasn't even good in the first half. They were terrible in the second half. Terrible in the second half. And folks, Lance Daw of Locked On Kentucky, we did a crossover with him yesterday. He tried to tell us that Kentucky team was bad. He tried to tell us that they have an attitude problem, that they have an execution problem, that they have a shooting problem, that they have a defensive problem. And he was right. That Kentucky team is bad. That's a bad, bad Kentucky team. And yet you go on the road, you blow a 7-point lead, you give up a 17-2 run at one point or something like that, and you lose by 12. That hurts. That hurts if you're Indiana, because would that have been a win that was a true resume building win in terms of KenPom or the net rankings and what we could use it for in terms of the NCAA tournament come March? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But that would have been nice to know that Indiana could go on the road and win that game in a hostile environment against a talented Kentucky team. I don't think they're good, but I do think they're very talented. That would have just said more about Indiana than anything else. But man, this team totally collapsed, fell apart, absolutely had no idea how to play basketball in the second 20 minutes, and they lose to the Cats 72-60. That's my initial thought here. Those are my initial words, that this game was ugly. Indiana played about as bad as you could in the second half, and you had every chance to win this thing, and you get railed in the second half, basically. So, man, some of the numbers here are just not pretty, man. Lamar Wilkerson finishes with 15. Of course, he sat on the bench for most of the second half and came in at around the 8 or 9 minute mark. And that's the stretch. That's the 7 or 8 minutes that Indiana just had nothing going for him. He had 15. Tucker DeVries had 15, but probably the worst shooting night he's had of his Indiana career. 4 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 9 from deep was Tucker DeVries in this game. He did have 7 rebounds. He had 7 of the 37. That's not good for Indiana, but he did end up fouling out there at the end. He had 4 turnovers tonight. Tayton Conerway had 11 points, but he also had 4 turnovers tonight, and they were all unforced turnovers. It was just him passing it to the other team, him getting underneath the basket and jumping in the air and having nowhere else to go. So we just handed off to a guy in a blue jersey and just let him run down the other end of the floor. I don't know what the heck Tayton Conerway's been up to. Those are the only three guys that got you in triple digits or in double digits. That's it. You had Wilkerson, DeVries, and Conerway. That's it. Alexis had 6, Sisley had 6, and Nick Dorn had 7, who actually has played pretty good minutes the last couple of weeks. And they all were from the free throw line, funny enough, for Nick. And he also had 5 rebounds. He did have a couple of turnovers, but in 22 minutes played, I'll take that from him. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players scored for Indiana tonight in this game. 6. Your bench points were pitiful. You had 13 bench points. 13. That came from Nick Dorn and Trent Sisley. All right. You also got destroyed in bench points because you had 13. They had 42. That's not good. Indiana, as a team, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to absolutely blow your mind because the free throw line was actually really good. And we'll get to likes and dislikes coming up here in a minute. That is one of the likes, is 26 of 29 from the free throw line on the road. Heck yeah, you'll take that. That's fantastic. That's really, really good for Indiana. Folks, in a 40-minute basketball game, without looking at the stat, do you know how many field goals Indiana had in this game? Do you know how many made baskets the Indiana Hoosiers in the year 2025 in a Division I P4 college basketball game? Do you know how many made field goals they had, made baskets in the game? 15. Indiana made 15 baskets. You hopped on a plane and flew from Bloomington, Indiana to Lexington, Kentucky. You stayed the night. You went through warm-ups. You had your team meal. You got hyped up. You got introduced. You played a 40-minute basketball game, and now you got to fly home for 15 made baskets. That's bad. That is really, really bad. You go 15 of 44 from the floor. Of course, this team lives and dies by the 3. We know that. They went 4 of 24 from downtown. That's pitiful. And you had 18 turnovers tonight. A season high 18 turnovers for the Indiana Hoosiers. And you start playing the comparison game here with what Indiana did to what Kentucky did. The Cats didn't have a whole lot much more success in terms of shooting the basketball. They shot at 38% from the floor. They went 3 of 15 from downtown. Difference with Kentucky was they realized they weren't making 3, so they did this crazy thing of going to the bigs in the paint and getting to the rim, getting to the foul line. Heck, they shot 38 free throws in this game. They only made 25 of them, and they still beat you by 12. But they also didn't turn the basketball over. I told you Indiana had 18 turnovers. Kentucky had just 4. And that's props to Kentucky for taking care of the basketball, but that's also on Indiana for not forcing turnovers. Man, Kentucky blitzed Indiana defensively in the second half, made the Hoosiers completely uncomfortable, so far out of their game and their comfort zone, and the Hoosiers simply had no idea what to do. And we've seen that several times this year. And it's so frustrating to watch. So off those 18 turnovers that Indiana gave up, Kentucky had 23 points. Think that had a difference? Think that had an impact, made a difference in a 12-point loss on the road? I would say so. You actually, believe it or not, you won the rebounding battle if you're Indiana, 37-34. Problem is, you gave up 14 offensive rebounds, and they scored 18 second chance points off of it. Think that had something to do with a 12-point loss on the road? I'd say so. I already mentioned the 42 bench points that Kentucky had compared to the 13 that Indiana had. How about this stat? This is fun. Remember when I said that Kentucky decided to just quit shooting threes because they weren't making them? I know the one started the run in the second half in the corner, but the Cats realized, our shots just aren't falling. And Indiana's not that big of a team. And you know what? They're kind of lazy defensively. Let's go to the paint. Let's go to the lane. They shot 38 free throws, did the Cats. I told you that. They also had 36 points in the paint. 36. You know how many Indiana had? 18. You think that had something to do with a 12-point loss on the road to Kentucky? I would say so. Just not a good game at all whatsoever. Indiana gets beat 72-60 against Kentucky in Rupp Arena. Our man Brian Smith, who won't be joining us tonight, he was in Lexington and said there were more Indiana fans there than he thought there would be. He said Kentucky fans were booing Mark Pope less than 10 minutes into the game. And now everything's fixed. Now everything's fine because it looked like Indiana was about to run them out of their own gym. And then Indiana just totally fell apart, had no idea what to do without Lamar Wilkerson on the floor. And the Hoosiers lose to Kentucky 72-60. We'll do everybody's favorite segment coming up right after this. Likes and dislikes. I see a lot of your thoughts in the YouTube comments, so please drop them in there. We want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. I want to see what you have to say. Likes and dislikes coming up next as Indiana loses to Kentucky 72-60. We talk about it more right after this on this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers. This live edition of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Rougi at Ready. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rougi at Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rougi at Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rougi at Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. And most men are ready in about 15 minutes on average, so you can stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now is the time. Head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnCollege. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougi at Ready. Feel present, feel confident, and you can feel ready. This episode, this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers, also brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. That's tomorrow. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Heck, you could have live bet Kentucky tonight down by 7 at the half. I'm sure the odds were pretty good for you on that. And then they go on a 17-2 run and they beat Indiana by 12. You could have made some serious money if you had done it with FanDuel. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. And finally, this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before you gift it, so when you plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches and arguing and cussing and all the things. Just instant smiles and instant gratification. So anybody in your family, you're looking for that last minute gift, an Aura frame is the way to go. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off the best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com. Promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to you, listeners of Locked On, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back into this live edition of Locked On Hoosiers, talking Indiana basketball as they go on the road and lose to Kentucky 72-60. I'm Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here. Drop your thoughts down in the YouTube comments, and we're going to get to as many of them as we can. About to do likes and dislikes here on the show. It's everybody's favorite segment, the way we always end our live shows after football, basketball, and a lot of other stuff too. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate you spending your Saturday night with us here on Locked On Hoosiers. So Indiana loses to Kentucky 72-60. And before we get to likes and dislikes, man, the loss itself sucks, right? And it's annoying and it's frustrating on how it happened. And it's like, you just scream at your TV because you're like, man, just do something, just like poking it with a stick, hoping that it'll like wake up, right? But man, to lose to Kentucky after all these years, right, with this week being the anniversary of the big shot, right, with inside of Assembly Hall against that Kentucky team, the #1 team in the nation, you take them down, you storm the floor. This was the anniversary week of that game. And to lose to Kentucky after all these years of not playing, on top of that, a Kentucky team that simply is not good, oh, it's just so frustrating. Man, I mean, that's a program, folks. That's a program where the fan base is already asking to fire their head coach. in year 2 of his tenure there. Like, that's where we are. Congratulations, Indiana. You gave Kentucky their first win over a P5 opponent this year. Nicely done. That's a team that got the doors blown off of them against Gonzaga. They lost a close one to North Carolina, all the other games on their schedule. And you said, here you go. Merry Christmas. Here's a win over Indiana. Because that's just what we do, I guess. And that's, I don't know. It just, again, the game itself, my water bottle just scared the crap out of me, by the way. I don't know. I don't know. It's just so frustrating to lose to that team, that logo, that fan base. After all these years, you get the gang back together and you just blow it and you play the way that you did. Now, reminder, this is not the only time these two teams are going to play. This is a 4-year series. You have 2 in Rupp, you have 1 in Assembly Hall, and 1 neutral site. So at least we have more chances, but I have a feeling that the next time we play Kentucky, they're probably going to be better than they were tonight. The hope is the next time that Kentucky plays Indiana, we are better than we were tonight. Hoosiers fall 72-60. All right, let's get to it. We waited long enough. Likes and dislikes. Here we go. It's everybody's favorite. We need like an intro or something for that. That'd be cool. See if I can get somebody at Locked On to help us out with that. 72-60 final score. Kentucky takes down Indiana. Likes and dislikes. You know how it goes. Rapid fire. We just hit as many as we can in a short amount of time. Drop yours down in the YouTube comments. I'll get to them as many as I can. We'll start with the likes. Okay, I'll start with a like. I mentioned it already. 26 of 29 from the free throw line on the road. That's a big deal. That's good. That's impressive. That's a winning stat in itself. If you told me, hey, Indiana goes on the road to Kentucky and they're going to shoot 26 of 29 from the free throw line over 40 minutes in Rupp, I'd say they probably had a good chance to win, right? But you didn't because you couldn't hit shots from the floor. But that's something that we can build on. That's something that we can look ahead to, is getting the ball inside, getting to the lane, and getting to the free throw line. Lamar Wilkerson did it in the last 2 or 3 minutes when Indiana was down by a bunch. And hey, he wedgied a layup. I don't think I've ever seen that. It was impressive. He lost it on the way up and then like tapped it into the wedgie or whatever. But that's what you got to do. When shots aren't falling, get to the rim and get to the free throw line. Charles Barkley actually talked about that on the broadcast, and I thought he said it perfectly. It's like, man, that can change everything. That can flip your mentality. That can flip the momentum just to get to the free throw line and see something go through and kind of slow everything down and reset it. I think Indiana needed to do that 10 times more than they did tonight, and they simply didn't. So a like for me is the free throw shooting, but a dislike for me is the fact that it wasn't more because of your poor 3-point shooting. Again, 4 of 24 from downtown. We knew this going in, and we've learned this about this team in the first however many games, the first 10 games, 11 games of the season now, right? Indiana now 8-3 on the season, so your first 11 games. We've known that the Hoosiers will live and die by the 3. But tonight was just another example of, yeah, if you don't hit threes, Indiana's not winning the basketball game. 4 of 24. Folks, that's 17%. That's horrible. You don't hit threes, you don't win the game. That's Indiana. And what really sucks about that is this is wishful thinking talking about the NCAA tournament, but history is not on your side as a 3-point reliant team in March. So Indiana's got to find a way to figure that out. Another dislike is just your lack of paint presence, right? Talking about offensively, even defensively, giving up way too many offensive rebounds to Kentucky. I mean, you just got bullied, man. You absolutely, and I even thought that in the first half too, when Indiana was actually winning the game, right? I thought Indiana was getting bullied and knocked around and pushed around by this Kentucky team who somehow flipped it on in the second half and flipped that switch and became the more aggressive team. They became the team who was more motivated. They wanted it, right? They fed off their crowd. They fed off each other. They fed off their coach, and Indiana simply collapsed. There's no other way to describe it. So those are all dislikes for me. Again, having just 13 points off the bench. Connor Enright continues to be an offensive liability. He is simply out there to, I don't know, play defense sometimes and pass the basketball around. He did have 5 rebounds, but he had 1 assist. 1. He had no points and 1 assist as a starting guard at Indiana. That's not okay to me. But the problem is you don't have anywhere else to go because 3 of your guys are still injured. So that's a dislike for me. Sam Alexis, man, I just want him to be more aggressive with the basketball in his hands, dude. Be aggressive with the basketball and look to score. When you catch it on the low block, I was yelling about this the other day. Look to score. Be aggressive. Act like you want to be there rather than just let me catch this basketball. Who can I pawn this off to? Who can I find? How can I get rid of this? Right? I hate that from him, and I want him to be more aggressive because you didn't get anything from Reed Bailey, who played just 8 minutes in this game. 8 minutes, no points, 1 rebound, and 3 personal fouls. You got absolutely nothing out of him, okay? And that's the problem with this team, too. You just don't have a whole lot of options. You really don't, man. You just don't have a whole lot of options on this Indiana team. And so shooting was bad. That's a major dislike for me. Turnovers, obviously, were bad. Your season high in turnovers with 18, plus the lack of forcing turnovers. Kentucky had just the 4. I don't know. I really don't know. And the offensive stagnance, is that a word? Sure, we'll go with it. The offensive stagnance is baffling to me. Again, Kentucky ramped up their defensive energy in the second half, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. But, man, they made Indiana look weak and like they didn't know what they were doing. Indiana just stood around, passed it around a little bit, set a high ball screen every now and then, but nobody. The backdoor cuts and off-ball screens that Indiana and we were running in the first 2 weeks of the season have just disappeared. They have disappeared. And these defenses are not doing anything crazy to shut those down. Backdoor cuts are effort. That's what that is. It's moving from your spot and finding an open hole on the floor and hoping you get the basketball. Those are effort plays. Setting backdoor screens, off-ball screens, helping your teammates out. Those are effort plays. And Indiana simply isn't making them right now. And it shows when you dribble it around for 20 seconds, you chuck up a contested 3, or you do get to the elbow or the low block on a rare occasion, and you just have to throw up some crazy shot and hope that it goes in. Like, offensively, it's gross right now. So that's another dislike for me. It's just the idea that if it's not a wide open 3, Indiana's not going to take it, and Indiana's not going to make it. And so you're going to have to figure this thing out really quickly because you got 2 games against mediocre opponents back at home inside of Assembly Hall. You'll drop 100 points in both of those games, and we'll think everything is fine. And then you'll host Washington and see how that goes. Then you'll go on the road to Maryland, who was winning their game earlier when I looked against Michigan. Oh, they lost. They were winning at one point. They ended up getting blitzed in that game. They let Michigan drop 101 points on them. So, but that's not a good Maryland team either. I guess not great. But anyways, Indiana has issues is what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm afraid that they just can't be fixed. So, major dislike for me as well. Let's get to some of the comments here, and then we will wrap up this losing edition of Locked On Hoosiers. Let's see. Yeah. Wilkerson missing free throw shots. Did he? What was his official line? I mean, he went 3 for 4 at the line. So I guess it's kind of harsh. One of the worst IU teams I've ever seen, been watching for 40 years. Let me read you a text from our friend Brian Smith. Again, friend of the program, helps us out a ton, was sending us some great content from Lexington. We appreciate him being there. He sent me a text in this game. What did he say? He said, this Kentucky team is terrible, and Kentucky fans were booing Mark Pope less than 10 minutes into the game. And then he sent out a tweet that I want to read. He said, Indiana isn't any good, but they're much better than Kentucky. I can't remember a Kentucky team this bad. That was in the first half. And then somehow they figured it out and whatever. But Indiana's just got major issues, man. Major issues. This right here, too. Never seen a team use all 3-point shooters and still can't space the floor. That's a fantastic point. All this team wants to do is shoot the 3-point shot. Okay, you've got the whole rainbow perimeter that Sam Alexis continues to find himself out there, which that makes me so mad. But a team that does nothing but shoot, and yet they still have problems standing next to each other because they don't move, and the floor seems to be about half as big as it actually is. That's a great point, man. I can't figure it out, and I like to think I'm a pretty good basketball knowledgeable guy, but I can't figure it out. The only thing I know is that they don't move. Nobody moves. They just stand there. They just stand and watch, and they play one-on-one and hope that the defender slips or something. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm just knocking stuff all over the place. I'm so frustrated. But anyway, both IU. Yeah, that's funny. When can we get rid of DeVries? I don't think we're there yet. Yet. Yeah, fire the entire team and coach. Is there a way for Sig to coach basketball too? I don't know, but he'd probably be pretty darn good at it, wouldn't he? And shout out Fernando Mendoza for winning the Heisman Trophy tonight. We have an episode about that up on Locked On Hoosiers, whether you're on YouTube or audio. So as soon as we're done here, go check that out. We did a whole episode talking about Fernando and why he was absolutely the right choice to win the Heisman Trophy. They should pay us to watch Bailey play. Yikes. Well, you didn't have to watch him for very long. He played for like 8 minutes tonight. So again, doing likes and dislikes here on Locked On Hoosiers. We're wrapping this up. Not coached well. Unfortunately, that is the case at times. You can tell that they haven't been coached through the tougher situations yet. And for a team that is as hot and cold as they are, they should not have the constant green light that they do. The defensive effort is something that is disappointing to me coming from Darian DeVries, and I expected that to be better. I don't know if that's him and his staff. I don't know if that's the makeup of this team. I don't really know. I haven't figured that part out yet. But the defensive effort and the defensive coaching and just some of the basketball knowledge is just not there at times. And it's just really confusing to me. So Jason, another comment from Jason that says, no size, can't rebound, can't shoot, and turn over too much. Yep, that's pretty much it. That pretty much sums up your 12-point loss tonight. You're not big enough, you turn the ball over too much, and you couldn't shoot it. That's pretty much it. So again, going through some of your comments, likes and dislikes. Yep, another one. When you can't score, rebound, or play defense, you're not going to win many games. And you definitely didn't win this one tonight, losing to Kentucky 72-60. More turnovers than field goals. Oh, yep, that's correct. Good observation, David. I did not put that together, but you're absolutely right. 18 turnovers for the Hoosiers. 15 made baskets from the floor. That is really bad. Wonder when the last time that happened to like a major team. Like, I'm sure a lot of mid-majors that has happened to when they play a Michigan or a Gonzaga or something like that. But in a pretty big game like this, when's the last time a team had more turnovers than made shots? Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So let's talk about football after a basketball game. I'm with you. I wish we could. Okay, wrapping this up here, likes and dislikes, just reading through some more of these just to make sure. Yeah, I'm seeing some other comments in here. Oh gosh. Yeah, there's some I don't want to read, but yeah, no floor spacing. Kentucky is not making the tournament. If they keep playing the way they're playing right now, that is not a tournament team for Kentucky. I'm sorry, they're not. They have tournament talent, sure, and they're also down 2 or 3 of their better players, but if they play the way they did tonight, even with the second half, that's not a tournament Kentucky team. But folks, that's not a tournament Indiana team either, and that's the issue. That's the bigger problem. At this point, I don't care about Kentucky. We lost that game, but good riddance to them and good luck or bad luck or whatever. Indiana's got to figure its thing out, man, because that is not a tournament team that's been playing the last 4 games where you lost to Minnesota on the road. You lost to Louisville in Indianapolis. You blew out Penn State because you hit 1,000 threes, and then you lose to Kentucky. You've lost 3 of your last 4 games against P4 opponents. That's not good. That's not good. Your win over Marquette does nothing for you now. They suck. Your win over Kansas State now does basically nothing for you. They're 7-4. They did beat Creighton today, but still, I'm not. So they also lost to Bowling Green after they played us. So Indiana's not a tournament team, plain and simple. They're not a tournament team, and neither is Kentucky. So, all right, looking through, looks to be about done. There's a lot of you here, a lot of comments, and I appreciate everybody being being here tonight. Again, Indiana falls to Kentucky 72-60. And again, my final takeaways quickly are the defensive effort is bad. The size is a major issue. And again, you won the rebounding battle. You just gave up timely offensive boards and gave up second chance points because of it. If you don't turn it over 18 times, you probably have a chance to win this game. But my goodness, being so reliant on the three ball and Lamar Wilkerson going out with his fourth foul early in the second half and Indiana having no idea what to do, that's bad. That's bad because now what teams are going to do is they're going to go right at Lamar. They're going to go right at him. They're going to get him in foul trouble, or they're just going to make him exhausted and double him or do whatever. And they're going to say, cool, make somebody else beat you. The dude's coming off a historic performance inside of Assembly Hall and even played well tonight when he was on the floor. Like, the idea is make somebody else beat you. Tucker DeVries has proven he can't do it on his own. Tayton Conerway proved he can't do it on his own. Sam Alexis and Reed Bailey, all they do is either get in foul trouble or pass it off to somebody else, and that's pretty much it. That's all you have. And so Sisley hasn't stepped up the way I wanted him to. Nick Dorn is trying to. They just don't put him on the floor enough, in my opinion. So Indiana's in trouble, man. And I know it's only December, but Big Ten play is going to be really humbling for this squad if they don't pull it together. And tonight was very disappointing, losing to Kentucky 72-60 inside of Rupp Arena. But that is going to do it for our live show of Locked On Hoosiers. Hey, a reminder, in case you have not heard, Locked On, we have introduce something new to you. So if you're an everydayer, if you love listening to Locked On Hoosiers and you want more great content from me and from what we're doing here, we have the Everydayer Club now that we introduce. It's $5 a month or $50 for the year. You can get all sorts of cool stuff, okay? You can get it. It's an exclusive community who want to be closer to us, closer on the action, and have just more access to some stuff, right? You're going to get ad-free shows from Locked On Hoosiers on the audio side. You're also going to have no interruptions, members-only Discord access that I'm involved in, that we're talking, having conversations, and a whole lot more for just $5 a month or $50 a year. I'll put the link in the description below on YouTube and on the audio, but if you want to check it out, go to lockedonhoosiers.supercast.com. There's no www, just lockedonhoosiers.supercast.com to check that out. Again, $5 a month. It's our Everydayer Club, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. But we are back on Monday, Hoosier fans, for a normal episode talking more football with Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman, the college football playoff coming up. Also, the transfer portal. Crazy, I know, but Indiana's got to start thinking about it because it opens up in just about 3 weeks. And there's some names out there that I think Indiana's going to be a part of and a whole lot more. So we are back on Monday, Hoosier fans, for a regular episode of Locked On Hoosiers. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.